Hello, and welcome to Sheepdog Says. I'm Sheepdog, and today I want to talk about one of my favourite topics, which is football, or soccer if you're American. The reason I want to talk about that mainly is because in about an hour I'm watching Tottenham take on Brighton. It's one of those games where we really need to win it. As a Spurs fan, I need us to win it because if we win it, then we're one step closer to securing a space in the top four and maybe getting third. Liverpool fans are out there worrying that we might win our game in hand and catch them up. It's making the end of the season very entertaining. I think Brighton need to win it to stay up, so it's going to be juicy for them. They're probably a bit okay because teams below them are taking points off one another, but we should win it, and it should be a way of getting us a bit further away from the team in fifth place below us. I didn't just want to rabbit on about where Spurs are in the league. I know that would alienate all but Tottenham fans, so that'd be a bad idea. One thing I did want to talk about was just little random, I was going to say vendettas, but that's the wrong word. I have a vendetta with the Now TV Sport social media account on Twitter. Anyone who follows me on Twitter will see the amount of arguments that we've got into because their banter is horrendously poor. They're genuinely awful at what they do. They have a little repertoire they do every game of, like, if a player dives, they do the gif of everyone holding up the diving scores. They just leap on whatever random jokes come up and they rinse it for everything it's worth. So they were going on about Harry Kane claiming goals the other day, which was humorous the first maybe one time it went up, but they went far too far on it. They've got a huge bias towards teams like Arsenal and I want to say Man United. I don't think they've got a Liverpool bias. I think they've been quite anti-Liverpool. But it's interesting just seeing how, as an offshoot of Sky, they don't necessarily toe the line of the rest of Sky, and their banter is terrible. Like, some places are really funny. Paddy Power is horrifically awful at times, like in terms of how dark it is, but their banter is genuinely good fun. Now TV I just do not like because they just try too hard and it always misses the mark, or it's too on the nose and just fails. But that's not just the vendetta I was going about. I have like a thing that I'm not letting go of that's bugging a friend of mine. I keep complaining about the way that Sky do the footballing punditry. So I don't know who's going to be the pundit today for Spurs. It's Spurs v Brighton. The only connected person I can think of between them is the Brighton manager, because he used to be a player for Spurs and their assistant manager. But when Tottenham played Manchester City at the weekend, which was a massive game for them, they just won the league. And I'm not going to get into, people who know me well and have talked about football with me before know that I once tried to do a podcast on football and it ended up getting cancelled because I just sat there and argued with the Man City fan about how they were cheating and they spent loads of money on that. I don't want downvotes. I don't want to get into that. I've kind of made peace with that whole nonsense. I like to mock my friend Angry John about it from time to time, but I mean, personally, I just ignore it now. I'm not worried about what they do. If they win the league, great, whatever. I feel like, but that's life. If we ever get up there and beat them, it'll be all the more sweeter. But it was Tottenham v Man City, a big game for both of us. We could have made our longest streak in the history of our club. It would have been the best win streak we'd ever had. We were one game away from it. We were playing the champions. If they won, then they only needed Man United to lose and they would win the league. And Sky, in their infinite wisdom, decided that the pundits for that game should be Thierry Henry, Arsenal legend, who hates Spurs, and I think it was Phil Neville, Man United legend, who hates Man City. And then whoever it was doing the rabbiting, he's always irritating. It might have been Tyler or someone like that. He's awful anyway. And then they had Graham Souness, who... My friend said to me, why is he always on our games? Why is it always him? Every week he's at our games. And I pointed out to him that, I'd wondered this a year ago, and they commented to him about how he used to play for Tottenham, which I was like, I didn't know that. And when you look it up, he played for Tottenham in 1972 for 2 seasons, but he never got a game and he never scored any goals. So in Sky's wisdom, they're like, well, he's neutral. He played for Spurs once. Thierry Henry is just a good pundit. Phil Neville, he's just a good pundit. And it's like, well, yeah, they are. All right. Well, Henry's not any good at all. He's as bad as Carragher. But Neville's decent. Neville knows what he's talking about. He's been quite fair. You watch him commentate, and he doesn't stick the boot in on City. He doesn't stick the boot in on United. He's not that clued up on Spurs, but never mind. But at least he can be fair, and I can see him being there on merit, but at least think about it when it's a Man City game. Don't have him there. If you went to watch a film and there was a narrator, you wouldn't want it to be someone you hated narrating the film. It would spoil your enjoyment. My friend doesn't get it. He's like, well, what's the problem? Because in his point of view, he's only ever getting Arsenal legends because he's an Arsenal fan, or players that he might not be fond of, but what's the big deal? But not many clubs have a passionate hatred for his club other than Tottenham. No other club does. Chelsea don't. They're always swapping players. None of the London clubs have the hate for Arsenal that Spurs have for them and that people have for Spurs. We're probably one of the most hated London clubs. But Sky just don't get it. And what I wish they would do is I wish they would get like a go-to Spurs guy to be at all the Spurs games and a go-to Man United guy, and then just swap them around every week. They've got enough games on each week that they can employ these people. Just have them turn up, do their bit. Their job between the weeks is to go and learn about the club, be aware of the different rumours and hints and this. What I don't want is to be sat watching Spurs Brighton tonight and have Thierry Henry wondering out loud whether Dele Alli is going to be playing at the club next season, or whether Harry Kane's going to perform at the World Cup, or whether he can keep up with Salah for the Golden Boot. I don't want Jamie Redknapp going on about how he'd rather see Mo Salah win it himself because he's a Liverpool fan. I get that he's a Liverpool fan. I know what he thinks. I know what he wants. And I have no problem with a Liverpool fan wanting a Liverpool player to win. But not when I'm watching Spurs play. I don't sit there during Liverpool games going, boo, boo. I hope Kane scores. And they don't get a Spurs person in to just make those comments. Or they don't get a person to sit there during Liverpool. Well, I assume they don't. I don't watch Liverpool games. And if they do, they're wrong. But if they sit in Liverpool games and they say, I wonder if Salah will be at the club next year. Nobody watching the game wants to see that. Unless it's Liverpool Man U or Liverpool Everton, then half the fan base might wonder. But nobody else wants to hear that kind of doubt and nonsense while they're watching a football match. All they want to hear is random facts, some knowledge. They want the commentary to be right. They don't want people getting the names mixed up because they don't know who they're watching. They don't want people asking questions, why is he out on the wing? And then it's like, well, that's where he's played for the past 18 games, but you don't watch as often enough to know that. They should have someone whose job it is. If they said, I'm not asking for the job, obviously, I'm not an idiot. If they said to me, right, you're going to be commentating the Spurs-Brighton match on Tuesday, last week, I'd have spent the week, because it's a big deal to me, I'd have spent the week learning the Brighton players' names, learning their history, their formation, their this, that and the other. I wouldn't have sat there going, oh, did you know that on this day 4 years ago this happened? Because that wouldn't be entertaining. But just be able to go, oh, that's Joe Bloggs, that's, whatever. And be able to just point stuff out. Or say, oh, I heard a rumour that they might be looking at this next season, or they might be doing that. Or, I've heard that he's going to sign a new contract. Because that's another thing, like, not only doubting about their whether they're going to be there next year. As somebody who's into their club, I'm on all the different forums and groups and whatever. So I'll hear, like a week ago, if a player's stalling on a contract, but it's all being sorted out, we get the news really quickly that it's been sorted out. It's going to be announced at some point or another. And we know it's going to happen. And then you have to sit through some moron pretending he knows what he's talking about and pretending he's in the know somehow. And then he's wrong, and they never go back and go, oh yeah, we were wrong about that. They just keep being wrong and never reflecting on it. I just feel like it's better customer service. Sky charge so much more money than everybody else for football. The least they could do is tailor it. I mean, at the moment, they'd probably argue they are if you're a Liverpool, Arsenal or Man United fan, because they have the Carragers, the Redknapps, the Nevilles and Henry, but there's just such little representation for such a big league. I mean, I get that it'd be complicated. You'd have to get a player from a team that's just been promoted to appear like a few games a season, but they also underrepresent those teams anyway. It's the same with the Football League. But I know that if Peterborough United are on telly, which I think they are this week, it might even be today again, actually. I might be clashing with that for my wife, but they could get someone like Jimmy Bullard on because he played for him once. It just makes sense. Speaking of Peterborough, and keeping it on the football theme, I had a bit of a disagreement with their chairman on Twitter yesterday, which was a bit awkward. People are complaining a lot at the moment and boycotting games because he's employed a manager, Evans, who they don't like. And they've said to him, until that manager leaves, I'm not going to come to games. So then the chairman's spouting off on Twitter, why did only 5,000 people come to my game yesterday? This is outrageous. It's like, well, they told you why. don't employ a man they don't like. You know, people are voting with their feet. That's what customers do. Treat your customers like customers. But what he was doing instead was he was taking a mickey out of them and saying that the club was more like a library at the best of times. And when I said to him, well, if you're going to, you know, I think I used a slightly ruder word, but I did say if you're going to employ a bully, then you expect, like, what do you expect players to think? You know, is anyone going to want to sign for a manager who's just going to bully him because he can't make, you know, he can't do good tactics, so he just rants and raves. It's like raising a kid, isn't it? If you're no good at parenting, you start hitting your kid or shouting at them or whatever, because it makes up for the fact that you can't just have a sit down and tell them why they were wrong because you can't communicate. And it, like, we all have trouble with that at the best of times. And if you're a professional football manager, you shouldn't be standing at the side of the pitch just threatening your players for 90 minutes. And it's no, all the people sat around him don't want to hear him swearing and ranting and hollering and losing his rag because he's not good enough at his job. But the Peterborough chairman doesn't get it. He's excited. He wants everyone to cool their jets and pipe down and let him do what he's doing. And I mean, I hope it works out for him. But I know that really hardcore Peterborough fans like Kev have said they just hope they don't go up. They hope that it doesn't work out and they get rid of the moron because he's not who they want. And I remember my club making weird decisions like this. Some of them worked out a lot better. I know a lot of people were upset when we got Harry Redknapp, but I really liked him and I thought he did a good job. He was very dodgy towards the end, though. But people have been really furious when we got like ex-Arsenal manager George Graham in charge, and that didn't work out well. And you know, I've had lots of things like that over the years where we've just made a really dumb decision, and it never works out. And again, it's something that I don't get about football. You know, most of this has been about how I don't get it about how Sky manage football viewing, but football clubs run in an entirely weird and foreign way that doesn't make any sense. You'd think the amount of money in it, people would put more effort into getting it right. And just not making weird decisions. Anyway, it's a bit of a random one for me tonight, but I just don't get it. I don't get it. If I go downstairs now and it's Thierry Henry commentating on Spurs for another 90 minutes, I just don't see the point. I don't get it. This isn't an anti-Arsenal rant. I'm not saying that because he's Arsenal I don't like him and that's that. I'm just saying, why have him on a Spurs game? I know that there'll be Arsenal fans watching who might think, well, I don't get it. But imagine if it was, I don't know, Glenn Hoddle or Jermaine Genius or Jermaine Defoe or someone like that was sat there doing your commentary. You'd be like, oh, Jesus, what is he doing here? And that's what it's like, exactly the same. I get that Thierry Henry's a legendary player. I get that he's very, very good. But the closest he is to Spurs is when he wore that Antonio Spurs, is it? From America outfit. He's not any way related to Tottenham Hotspur. Anyway, enough of that. Let me know what you think about football-related content. I never know whether to put it on or not, to be honest. I've thought about it in the past. It's not everyone's cup of tea. I'll look at the viewing figures and whatnot based on the title and that sort of thing. But let me know what you think. Let me know who you support. It'd be a good idea to get an idea. I don't want to be saying things... well, I'll always be honest, but I don't want to be saying things and then suddenly it upsets a load of people. I know when I jokingly referenced Arsenal the other week, someone got very upset. I've kept very away from mentioning the league table and things like that because I don't want it to sound like I'm saying anything, because I get that Spurs have been down in the doldrums for years, so I'm going to be the last person who says look at that club there or whatever in any kind of gloaty way, because again, these things ebb and flow, and, you know, 1 minute you cock and a walk and all that stuff. I think I just quoted Piers Morgan's Twitter account. Oh, I might have to shoot myself. Anyway, that's enough from me. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Hopefully, I'll have a nice evening watching Spurs win. Sorry if you're a Brighton fan. I hope you stay up. Cheers.